Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we will be looking at a result type because there are two scenarios in any of the applications that when you want to deal with an API, either a successor or a failure, there are only two states. On the failure you want to display some errors, and on the success you want to process with that one. So let's see how can we create a better result type so that it makes a easy code flow. So over here there is a result class that I have created with an exception and a type of value, because on the exception I want to throw an exception that we know that what exception has been occurred, and on the success part I want to give an output to an API, so that's why a value. So this is a record type of Java, and it has two constructor if you see over here. So in this constructor, one is accepting a exception and another one is accepting a value. This is for the success case and this is for the failure case. And there are two states of this one. One is either it's the state is false or either the success is success. And we have one method as match method, which is a functional where we will pass to consumer and we will return those consumer in this one. Let's see how we can use this class in our application so that we can deal with a very good flow. So in the API, if you can see, this is a Micronaut application and that has a controller, and this is a CQRS, so it has a command and command is communicating with the service. So in the controller, as I can see, a service bus which is sending a message, a command to a create command. So we will use that result type on post method and a patch method in the delete method as well. We don't need for the get method, because on the get method if there is nothing, it's gonna return a null or empty array, and we can use this for a post, patch and delete. So over here you can see my service bus which is sending a message to a command, and it has a return type as result category.dtu, and this is one of the data transfer object that has created, which is again a record. So it's sending, it's giving us, because this is a CQRS, it's sending us what is the request and what is the response. So this is the response. So on the success, if you can see, this method is returning either an item is because this is reactive programming. So if you are familiar with RxJS in JavaScript and any other reactive programming, so this is how it is done in the Java. So it has two that I have shown in the previous class. So if you go inside this one, it has either a success or failure. There are the two states of this class, because when we pass the value to this two constructor on the exception, we are telling a state that is a fault state, and on the success we are telling it is not a fault state. So in this time this exception is null. If you can see, we have a super constructor over here. This is a concept of the record, because in the record we can pass it to value to the super constructor. This is how the record works. So over here, once I get this is the command that this controller is triggered. So create category command. So this is the one of the category command, and it's communicating with the service, which is the service. Now in the service we can see there are service is handling a business logic, either success or failure. This is how we do it. So if we check over here, see this one, this is one of the validation that we are doing, because we want to do a custom validations. Either we want to check our inventory is there or not. If the inventory is not there, we don't want to proceed further, we want to return back to the API. So on two scenarios will be there, either success or a failure, but we don't want to throw an exception from here, and we want to create a global exception handler and deal with that, because we want to pass from the service to a controller, because we want to handle of the exception in the controller instead of a global exception handler. Now that is a different topic. You can also use a global exception handler to deal with this, but for better code readability and the flow for anyone to go with the codes, we will not use a global exception handler middleware to here. So over here I have a validation, which is a custom validation handler. So if you can see, this is a functional programming again. So I have validation in here. I'm checking based on the name that I have one of the category or not. If category is not present, then I am passing a exception over here. If you see, return new result. Now if you can see, if this is not, and again this return new result. There are two type. One, in the over here I'm passing an exception, but over here I'm passing a model, because as I sorry, there are two constructor over here, one constructor for the exception and another one for the value. That's why it can take two values for over here. So once if the same name, because I'm checking over here validation, that same name exists or not. If the same name exists, then I'm passing an exception as a duplicate text name, but it is not, and it is going on a normal flow. So this is how we can use a result type to handle both the scenarios. Now if you go back to the service level, so because over here the result will be either a fault state or a success state, because there are the two states of this result set. So after the validation is done, if it is a fault state, because I'm using a reactive programming, because this requires a mono, and I'm giving a result that whatever the result that exception has occurred from here, I am just returning that to the mono. And if it is not, and it is been saving to a database and performing this ones. Now over here, if we can see, because once we pass this one from the service to the command, because it comes, the command will return whatever the service is returning to us, because their result type, return type is a result and one of the GTO, and this is expecting some value. Now over here we are handling those exceptions, because we are not handling any exception in the command or in the service level. We are handling in the controller level, because we don't want to break the execution of the program. So that's why. So over here we are saying if item is success. If it is success, then we are returning and type as created. And if it is not in success, we are saying it is a bad request, because we want to send a bad request. Same thing goes with the patch. If you can see, if it is success, then we are saying it is okay request 200 and oh, but it is failure, then we are saying a bad request. So this is one of the result type that you can create to use. This is very useful because it handles for both, because many of the videos that I have done, I got some comment that what type it is used on your program. So I have just created this video for you. If you like my content, and if you want to know more about the content, please subscribe to my channel.